miracle that we're here.
So we
And
have earbuds in. I have the weirdest ears, and they
we're
don't
live.
can't get them in. Can't get them in.
That's excellent. I love that. I love that info. Okay, so we are. I hope that we are live now on the Movers group. Do let us know if you. I'm looking down, so I'm looking to see if it is on the group. Out there. Nobody's out there. Oh, come on, everybody! Come and say hello to Sally and I. Oh, how have you been this lockdown? Let's have a little chat while people find us.
Yeah. Well, like everyone, up 1 minute, down the next. Yeah, intense. And then
it's been an intense time.
I can't believe it's been a year. It's wild that it's been a year. Yeah, I remember saying to you, I'll see you in 2 weeks.
I know. But it was, but last March, it felt like everything was just going to be over in a second, didn't it? If we'd have known that it was going to be a year later.
Yeah, it's probably best we didn't know.
It's best we didn't know. I was going to say it's definitely best. It's best that we didn't know. It's like it's just like all of those journeys. I'm very glad I didn't know all the things about running a business before I started either. I'm going to sit slightly more in the light because, oh my goodness. Do you feel the same about that, Sally? Because you run an amazing teacher training program.
Yeah,
you do.
Thanks. Yeah, I was halfway through running one in person. It was 3 days and then a 5-day break and then another 3 days up in Yorkshire. So we did 3 days and we were kind of joking, there's this flu going around. Not joking, but sort of not taking it seriously. And then within 3 days of getting home, it got really serious and I couldn't go back up. So I was forced to do it on Zoom, which frightened the life out of me. But my students were very sweet and they helped me. Just that, so they could finish their training. And then I thought, it's not so bad, actually, having been very scared of it. And it's actually gone the other way for me now. It's so convenient. And, I've got my 2 girls, so being away is quite hard anyway. Yeah. And now I can have people from anywhere in the world, like you can, and got more people than ever on it. So it's worked out quite well. I mean, I am a little bit bored of the corner of my bedroom. However, that's
surely not.
It's a small, I'm looking at the wrong camera, it's a small price to pay, really. But I'm sure everyone's like that. Oh, here I am. Here's the corner of my kitchen again.
I know. Here are the 4 walls. Yeah.
We've all gone mad on plants, though, haven't we? We've sorted our plant situation out. You've got to have a plant if you're a yoga or Pilates teacher.
It's true. But I think just for life in general, you have to have a plant.
Love plants. Love them.
You can't go on this journey without plants. So, Sally, take us back a step. I want to hear about your yoga and Pilates journey because you're one of those few yoga teachers who've crossed the pond on both sides.
Traitor. Well,
or not. Maybe that makes you a well-rounded human being.
Maybe.
Which one?
I've got to be well-rounded in one department of my life.
Yeah.
Well, I as you know, I don't know if the movers know, but my initial background was in fitness and sports science, so that's where I started. So I learned about all different disciplines,
right?
And then I was getting a little bit tired of the dare I say shallowness of competitive sports. So which I was getting quite into, and I found a lot of strangeness in there, in that on the surface, I mean, we know this now because everything's more open. We've got social media. I mean, this is way back, this is half my life ago, 22 years ago. There wasn't social media then, and there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes that you wouldn't have thought of, such as eating disorders, overtraining, injuries, etc. So it wasn't quite the health scene I thought I was getting into. So I started looking for something a little bit deeper, and I was getting very caught up in that as well. So I started getting I needed something a little bit deeper, and then one of my lecturers and CEO started teaching yoga as well. She's my favourite. She's not a lecturer anymore. She does her own teacher training now, and she was awesome. And she kind of opened up the world of yoga to me. And I went to one class, and it was that light bulb moment. I'm sure a lot of yogis have had it. It's like, this is it. This is it. This is it. Yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I was like, one class, I was like, this is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. And then at the time, Pilates was getting very popular as well, and I really enjoyed it. I've got scoliosis. I'm sinking a little bit today. Actually, I need to see my osteopath. So so I started doing Pilates as well to help that, and I just found that was like a breath of fresh air on top of the yoga practice, which I love. I still love it, but some days you feel just a little bit, I don't think I want to go deep today in my head. Do you know what I mean? I just want to do 10 minutes Pilates. It feels like a nice break for my brain. And I just found the combination of the two wonderful for my spine. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And in fact, we're joined by a few people now. You've found us.
Oh, lovely. Welcome.
We've got the lunch break crew. So we have got Emma, who is another yoga teacher and Pilates teacher. Hi for another teacher of yoga and Pilates.
Oh, shout out. Hi.
We've got some radical people out here. This is great. So, awesome. So Pilates is your sort of time off from all the thinking that yoga can involve.
I do feel like that. But you know, it's like with the yoga postures, they're so magical. But at the same time, they can open cans of worms at any moment. The mat can get pulled, and you're like, "Oh, far out! This is a week of shadow work I've got to do now."
You're absolutely right. I love far out. There's a week of shadow work.
Whereas Pilates, I'm just like, oh, I feel a little bit tight around my tummy. My back feels good. That was a nice 20-minute break from everything. Of course, yoga can be like that, depending on how big you go into it. But I find it's just constant inner work with yoga.
It is. And sometimes it's when you were least expecting it. And stupidly, like this weekend, I should have expected it because of what everyone's been through. You know, we were running a online yoga retreat, and I thought, yay, bring in the light, all the lovely light and stuff. No, all of the shadows, the anger, the tantrums, the tears, and everyone was going through all of their wading through the stuff.
Mad energy at the weekend. Yeah,
it wasn't there actually?
And yesterday was weird. Weird. Yeah, there's big planet movements and stuff. I don't know loads about it, but I was looking it up and I was like, there's something off today. And there's some big shifts. Yeah.
Oh, Emma, hang on, this is breaking news. Emma did her YTT with you.
Oh, which Emma is it? Yay!
Emma Jane O'Callaghan.
Oh, yeah, she was in our Pilates videos. Yeah.
Oh, really? We've got a superstar. Hold on.
Yeah. She's the machine.
High fives to you, Emma.
Hi, Emma. Oh, I'm pleased to have you here.
Oh, isn't that lovely? Isn't that wonderful? Oh.
It's an absolute tank. Yeah.
An absolute tank in the loveliest possible.
Oh yeah, like so strong. Yeah. For me, that's like major compliment.
She's an absolute tank.
So it's a London thing. Because I was in London too long.
Now we've got a wonderful question from Lara Joff, who also was on the retreat this weekend. So hello, Lara. I hope that you have also headed out from the murky. We're a bit more in the light. We're now like on our 5 years of shadow. Now she says, your course of 5 classes have saved my back, quite honestly. Oh. Where would you suggest moving on to? Isn't that lovely?
Getting goosebumps. Oh, thank you for saying that. And I'm so glad that had that effect on you. That's how I fell in love with Pilates. It saved my back, saved me from surgery. Yeah.
Wow.
Saved. Yeah, I have 3 collapsed discs because of a scoliosis in my lower back. Yeah. That's, I forgot to throw that in. Yeah, so it's been amazing for my back. So I'm so glad. Where to go from here? Well, there's a selection of wonderful Pilates teachers on Movement for Modern Life, and bar as well. You might find working with slightly longer levers now, your back's better, could be really lovely, but keeping with the more concentric muscle contraction where you're drawing in to help support your back might work. It's a bar. I'm really loving the bar club. They're so much fun as well. Such a nice
there's a great energy, isn't there?
Yeah. It really kind of you shake it off.
Yeah, exactly. But it's interesting you say that about drawing the energy in and being a bit more sort of, was it concentric about how we're focusing on back muscles? Because often in yoga, of course, we're like stretching and spreading. And a lot of the instruction that I've always received in yoga is space between the vertebrae, imagine length, which is great, but there's a definite downside to it. So let's talk about that.
Well, as some of the followers and you all know, the muscles do skeletal muscles, so the muscles that move your skeleton around and make different shapes for you, they respond to different types of muscle contractions. So lengthening muscle contraction, eccentric, shortening is called concentric. And when you only do one or the other, you start running into problems. So if you were to do loads of an exercise regime, discipline, whatever that may be, where it shortens the muscle, you see it a lot in the gym. People not doing so balanced exercises, sometimes it starts to affect their posture, so they start to draw in a little bit. They'll look shredded, aesthetically, they're on point depending on what you like, but there's something going on with their spine. In the same, so when someone's very mobile, done a lot of elongation of the muscles, they can start to move into hypermobility and then lose their stability. So what we're trying to do with this mind-body connection movement, as it were, for the last 10 or so years, to my mind anyway, is to get a balance between that. And that's why I'll never ever do just one thing. I have done that, and I ended up with instability in my hips and shoulders and bits of my spine. So that's why I went back to doing Pilates and a little bit of weight training, light impact walking, etc. So I agree. You can run into problems. Do one thing. You've got to try different things.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the sort of secret in life, hasn't it? It's like a variety. Lara says, I tried the first bar. Challenging. It is challenging, Lara. Got to be said.
Yeah, it is. I'm finding it I'm doing them, and I'm finding it a nice challenge. Oh, hello. I know the next day when I've done it, definitely.
Oh, hell yes. But I also really like the amount of movement, the big moves, because what I find about Pilates, this is my personal thing about Pilates, is I find it's very detailed and very like micro movements, and getting that bit right. It's boring. It's a bit boring. Am I allowed to say? I just want to make the big moves. I like the big moves. Like I want to be on stage or something. I like the big moves. It's like these little detailed micro movements.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, and you've got to be super engaged. That's why I like to block out other stuff, because you really got to focus on that detail.
You do, because also if you get the detail wrong, you're not doing anything.
Really not. You're just flopping around on that, really, aren't you?
Just flopping around.
We're all more flopping now.
But that's exactly right, and that's the kind of, like, my mum has always great feedback for classes, because with Pilates she was like, what is this? This is, you don't feel anything. And then she's like, Kat, do you realize that it's tiny movements? It's like, yeah. There is actually
no, she's so lovely.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it is about that. It's more of a mental engagement, because I find Pilates is quite a lot of the mental engagement to get that.
Definitely, yeah. And I think if you think of a piece of furniture or structure, if you don't get the joint quite right, the alignment quite right, say it's a table, that's not going to sit right. So, getting the axis point of the lever right is essential, because otherwise you're just getting wonky. And it's nice that you can apply that detail to yoga as well. So that's what I do. So the yoga I teach try to be quite alignment focused, because I know, and like all the other teachers teach for you, if you don't get it quite spot on, you get injuries elsewhere.
So that's actually a really interesting thing, that Pilates does give us that detail, which the big movers like me are probably needing to keep us to keep the integrity, keep it all within. It's funny.
I have spoken to Pilates teachers though that only do Pilates, and a couple have done a certain method of Pilates they chose, and they actually found they lost quite a big range of movement. So they've had to start bringing yoga back in. So it's never one is better than the other. It's just getting that combo, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not the yoga versus Pilates debate. And it's interesting, Raki says, I find sometimes Pilates can reach the secret parts of the body that you've forgotten exist. I think that's got to be right.
That's the ideal description, yeah.
But Sally, could you talk about other benefits of Pilates aside from strengthening and core work?
Oh, I found a brilliant increase in postural. So I've been doing Pilates regularly for the last 3 years. I've been doing Pilates a long time, but if I'm honest, I would drop in and out because I was so busy with the yoga stuff. But since having my littlest, who's 4 next week, do you remember 4? We've still got the baby videos up. 4 next week, since having her, I've been kind of forced to do Pilates regularly because my back was a little bit done in for. She's quite a large baby, and I've actually gained an inch height since doing Pilates, something Pilates related, sort of 5 days a week. So I've actually elongated my spine, taking the pressure off my lower back, and it's just been benefit has been phenomenal. So improvement in posture, and of course if you get improvement in posture, you'll get improvement in lots of other areas such as breath work. It's helped with anxiety massively. So where I was dropping slightly because I had another C-section, which then drew me in through my front. When you have more than one section or any kind of surgery through the abdomen, you get tighter each time. So that's why I lost height. So I've and with yoga and Pilates, I've sort of uncurled myself, but I feel like it's the Pilates that is sort of holding me up, as it were. So that's really helped anxiety too, because I was getting quite bad anxiety towards and pregnancy and after, because I think it's because I was collapsing down onto the lungs a little bit and then stimulating the sympathetic nervous system. So since my osteopath's done some work too on me, since we've opened that back up, it got so much better. I was waking up with chest pain, palpitations, all sorts. I was probably massive sleep deprivation as well, to be honest.
Wow.
But since I've gained that extra inch, the anxiety's gone.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Wild. Yeah, it's wild. And I was getting cramps through my diaphragm, so right through to the lats. That's completely gone now as well.
Oh, it's so interesting, all the wonderful benefits. Oh, we've got so many lovely and funny comments. I want to just go back through these because there's some funny ones. Joanna, there's something off today for sure. Kitchen floods, corrupt hard drives, and more.
Oh,
really wondering what energy is playing with us in the last few days. Oh, there is some crazy energy. Emma, I've never been called a tank before.
Military.
Yeah. But
you're so strong though, Emma. That day we filmed, you just kept going. It was immense.
She is. And that's why I got into yoga. Too much Pilates, HIIT, running and gym work. What Laura says, your yoga class where you put the block between your legs when you do camel, fantastic advice, made all the difference to my lower back.
Oh, yay. Brilliant. Because I've had various back issues. I've had to experiment and find ways through, because not doing yoga and Pilates is just not an option for me. I'd go crazy. So that's where I started using blocks so I wouldn't overextend. So maybe if you're finding that a benefit, maybe you're a little over mobile in the lower back and that, because it just stops you, doesn't it? It just stops you going too far, helps to switch your glutes on. So the glutes are such an underrated muscle. I'm always banging on about the glutes. Glute maximus, once they're switched on, your lower back has so much more support. I'm really glad that helped you. That's brilliant.
And the glutes are the butt muscles, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So nice big butt muscles. Yeah.
Nice big butt muscles is what we need because it helps with the lower back.
Yes, yeah. Okay. And you can get very tight hamstrings when the glutes are underactive, because the hamstrings will try and pick up the slack that the glutes aren't doing. So hip opening classes, etc., are brilliant, but I would do them along with strength work for the glutes, so such as bar, such as Pilates, just to balance it out, because when you keep on stretching your muscle, keep on and on stretching it, it just kind of goes, oh, whatever then, I won't even try. And it'll be quite hard to switch them back on, and you can get quite lazy muscle groups. The glutes are classic for that. Physios they've always got clients that are trying to wake their glutes back up and getting all sorts of back problems, but the hamstrings can get extremely tight if the glutes aren't firing up well, and then the hamstrings can then pull on the pelvis, which can then pull on the lower back, so you end up with this kind of cascade effect.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. And my mum is here now, so that's nice. Hello, Mum.
Hi, Mum.
Hello, Mum. She's mum to everyone, really, isn't she?
I know she is. The last time I saw her was at the yoga show.
Oh my goodness, we miss those days, don't we,
I
Sally?
know. I'm crying on my stand going, I don't know what I'm doing.
I know, don't we all? And she asks, Sally, is not Pilates good for osteoporosis? And which classes would you recommend for helping combat osteoporosis?
Well, any gentle weight bearing exercise. So weight bearing exercise without impact will help osteoporosis, definitely, and osteopenia, which is the precursor to osteoporosis. You can obviously you can't get rid of osteoporosis. You can get rid of osteopenia if it's caught in time, though. I think that's how you pronounce it. I could be pronouncing that wrong, actually. But you wouldn't want to do, as I'm sure you know, but you wouldn't want to do weight-bearing exercise that involves impact because you would increase the likelihood of bone fracture. But if you've the nice, so forest yoga would be brilliant. I love forest. Oh my God. I can kind of see elements of Pilates in that, where you're drawing in and getting the core nice and strong. And Pilates is brilliant. And maybe some of the bar, it depends on the severity of the osteoporosis. I would work with relatively short levers, so keeping the arms and legs relatively close to the torso, so you don't put too much strain on the axis point, on the joints initially.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Stronger, yeah.
So more of a sort of a tucking in, because a lot of your Pilates classes on the site, actually, I think most of them are quite sort of, they're quite integrated in the body, aren't they? So you'd probably be all right with all of those.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So just something nice and gentle, something with no impact, should really, really help to give support, and something that focuses on the joints as well, not so much opening and stretching the joints to a big range of movement, but just getting that nice functional, I don't know what I'm doing here, functional movement. I'm sort of thinking through things. Nice functional range of movement. So you can really, you can get through the day. That's kind of how I practice now and how I teach. What do we need to do to make you more comfortable in your body to get through the day? I'm not too worried about standing on my head anymore. You sort of get past that a bit, don't you? It is fun, definitely. Sometimes I do to shake that energy up a little bit, but I'm more about I just want to get through the day pain-free. That's my aim.
Well,
that's their aim.
Well, I think it's Mum's aim as well, because she has a lot of lower back issues as well.
Oh, okay.
So, definitely strengthening the lower back through. Is this a thing? Because there's always been something that's been said that strengthening the abdominals strengthens the lower back. Is that a myth, or is that true, Sally? Or is it complicated?
It's definitely not a one-word answer. Depends what part of the abdominal area you're working on. So if you're working with the banders, Pilates bands, we just don't call it that. So the pelvic floor and the transverse abdominal muscles, that's going to really help the back, because the pelvic floor goes all the way back to the back, attaches to the coccyx and inside of the lower sacrum. And then you've got the transverse abdominal muscle, which wrap all the way around and attach to the lumbar spine. Right. So if you're focusing on those muscles, that's what Pilates does really well. It will definitely help strengthen the back because they're attached to it. If you focus predominantly on rectus abdominis, so an abdominal curl would do that. It would it's not that you shouldn't do it, but I wouldn't focus on that too much. Maybe do 10 a day or something like that. Because when you curl up, if there's issues with the spine, especially if it's with bone density, you can put quite a lot of pressure down through the vertebrae with an abdominal curl. So I would focus more on anything that engages transverse abdominal muscles and the pelvic floor. So a move that would do that really nicely is lying face up, shoulder bridge position, then just curling up, rolling up through the spine, getting the pelvis really tucked under, rolling back down. Anything where you're lying on the side, having to balance on the side, bringing the legs up, go really gently, maybe one leg just on the floor, just working with the top leg. Fine twist movement. I've got that in one of the sequences, can't remember which one now. That would engage. So focus on from the floating ribs to the top of the thigh, that area, and the glutes to take a bit of pressure off the lower back. Also some stretching of the hamstrings to help switch those off a little bit and switch the glutes on.
Mum is very good at stretching her hamstrings.
Is she? Brilliant. Okay. She's got the question.
Yeah, she does the hamstrings class every day. It's religious. It's Andrea's 12-minute hamstrings without fail. So, okay, those are good exercises. And I'd have thought something like the gate pose, things like that would be, is that right? For the transverse,
Yeah, that would be good. And if you're on a day where your back's sore, because I have good days and bad days, you might want to just keep that lever a little bit shorter, maybe even keep the arm down by your side, and then just take it instead. So the weight of the arm's closer to the torso, so it won't put so much strain on the lower back.
Yeah, no, that's a good plan. Now we've got a question which was sent in beforehand, which is a great question. Why is Pilates breath the wrong way round from the yoga breath? Isn't that a great question?
Yes, yeah, that was posted a few days ago, wasn't it? I was like, so, well, wrong is subjective. So yeah, it's I've been trying to think of an answer to this for about 3 days now. It's just a different discipline. So in Pilates, depending on what style of Pilates, because like yoga, you've got all different styles now. Pilates is the same. You've got West Coast, East Coast, dynamic, remedial, classical, so all these different styles. But originally with Pilates, you would breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. So you get, when you exhale through the mouth, the breath can exit more quickly, and you can get a nice drawing in and up of the pelvic floor and the transverse abdominis muscles. With yoga, we're more, dare I say, a little bit more holistic in that we're using the nose for your natural purification system. So it's not that one is wrong, one is right. It's just different. It's just different ways of working. But I actually did my first yoga training and my first Pilates training to teach at the same time. I thought I could fit it all in. It was ridiculous.
That's so confusing.
And I was so confused, and I really struggled with but when it came to Pilates, I really struggled with it. And the tutor like pulled me aside. She goes, "You've done that breathing all wrong." I thought it was it, and I had to sit there and do it with her for her to pass me. And I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm just really confused. I was doing yoga." So I was like, I just about blagged it through. And then now I'm so used to switching that I should be this far on, but I'm so used to switching now. But I found it massively confusing. Yeah, and
there's no sort of overriding reason to do with the stretches or the different things that we're doing our body or anything more esoteric.
It's with Pilates, I would say it's more of a physical benefit in that when you exhale, as your lungs empty, the diaphragm muscles that sits under the lungs elevate. When the diaphragm muscles elevate, you also get a natural lift on the pelvic floor. So you've got 2 layers of muscles, transverse muscles, then lifting up together. And as you breathe out, and the stronger you breathe out, the stronger that's going to be, that muscle contraction. When you inhale, it all softens back down. So that's why we do the main exertion in a Pilates movement, especially the stronger style Pilates. I don't tend to teach that too much anymore, but the stronger style, which can be fun too. That's why we're doing the reaching out of the levers, for example, on the exhale. That's when you've got that deep internal strength going on. With yoga, you've got the energetics, and you're using natural purification system of the nose. You've got, I feel it's a more rounded, holistic process than Pilates, where I see Pilates as an exercise regime, a mind-body connection nonetheless, but more of an exercise regime. It's different.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I definitely see Pilates as like, this is a physical workout. And yoga's more of a work in and find my demons and deal with them all and go to battle.
Work in, that's brilliant. Yeah, it's a work in. I'm going to use that. Yeah. Work in and work out.
That's kind of how I see it. Mum then says, Sally, I do hamstring exercises. Is that on the right track? And you did answer that. You said hamstring exercises is the way forward.
Definitely, yeah. Squats are great as well to shorten and lengthen the hamstrings. You probably do that in your yoga practice, so I imagine.
That's a good idea. So squats and the goddess pose, presumably too.
Yes, goddess, chair, warrior. Although obviously you've got one leg straight, but you've still got that nice squat position on the leading leg. Warrior 2 and 1. Yeah, they're all really great, and it's a nice static movement. You've got a lot more muscle contractions in yoga as well. So that's quite different. Whereas Pilates, you tend to elongate and then shorten, elongate and shorten, keep moving. In yoga, you've got the more isometric muscle contraction where you're static. So again, you're keeping all the muscle groups guessing by doing all these different disciplines. And then they tend to switch on more quickly and become more functional because they don't know what's next. Like, God, what's she going to do today? Bar, Pilates, yoga, I just don't know. So they kind of, oh my God. So they'll be on kind of high alert, ready to roll. Whereas I found when I was just doing one discipline, I'd go through phases of all different disciplines, you know, for a year or something, and then change. I found my body and my brain actually would get a little bit tired and a bit but now I don't have a set routine. Just on any given day, I'll be like, yeah, I'll do that today. I always have a little segment of Pilates because my back, but yeah, body doesn't know. Body doesn't know what's coming. I think that's best.
That's a great idea. I love it. Laura says, I feel my back is more protected when I do Pilates. Interesting. Maybe it's because of what you were saying about pulling up on the exhale. Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes when I've done a long yoga session, my lower back, I don't know if you find this, Laura or Kat, my lower back feels a bit vulnerable. It can feel a bit energetically vulnerable, and my SI joints sometimes go a little bit clunky if I've overdone it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and with the Pilates stuff, I feel like it puts the lid back on, kind of shuts that down a little bit to keep that. To keep it leveled. And I think as well, energetically, especially over the last year where we've been energetically unstable, we don't know what's coming next, we don't know what the news can say, we don't know if it's truthful, all that stuff. You know, well, we know what's been going on with regards to jobs and all that kind of stuff. I've found my back has been much more clunky and had that feeling of not feeling so protected. The Pilates has been quite that. I just feel like it's okay, draw it in, get grounded, get my abs, you know, a transverse abdominal muscle, pelvic floor muscles all switched on to get that protection. I found that massively helpful. So I know exactly what you mean when you say that.
Yeah.
And energetically, of course, with yoga, we're working through the chakras too, so the root chakra, sacral chakra, which again, if you do too much of a certain practice, can open that up a little bit too much, and then you've got to work just like that. It's really easy to do that.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, Raki says, I often get SI joint clunkiness after long yoga sessions too. I do as well. I have to be very careful of my SI joints, and I think many of us yogis do, and the Pilates really does help with that.
Yeah. And then we can always kind of take it back. I don't know if you want to go off in this direction. A lot of the yoga postures, of course, well, all of them initially were designed for men's pelvises. So it's not surprising really when certain postures we still do, the more traditional style postures. I've got so many lovely adaptations now. It's kind of not surprising that women's pelvises respond in that way because we're different, we're shaped differently to the postures they're designed for. Sort of skinny men.
I love the way you're just like, well, obviously. I do want to go down here, you know, Sally.
Should we do it?
Yeah, because you know what? There's something we're just International Women's Day was yesterday, and there's actually not that much information about, I don't want to say what's wrong with the yoga poses, but hey, what's wrong with the yoga poses?
Well, when I started practicing yoga, I thought yoga could do no wrong. I was like, this is it. This is my life. There's nothing wrong. If my body's in pain, I must be doing it wrong. Or I'm having an emotional opening, which never did come. But anyway, that could explain a lot. No, it did actually. It did quite a lot. So I was my first love was Ashtanga.
Mine too.
Yeah, like a lot of people here probably, because it was that or Iyengar. And when and
Ashtanga was the fun one.
Ashtanga was the one Madonna did, so I went there.
Right.
Do you remember that back in the day? Whatever Madonna did, like it sold out and people did it.
That's right.
But those times have gone now. But yeah, so I fell in love with Ashtanga. I think it's because I'd come from fitness background. I was so used to sweating and hurting. I was like, this is amazing. And I'm getting a massive range of movements. I'm getting all the flexibility work, and I'm having regular meltdowns, so I don't have to pay for therapy. Not bad for £8.50. So So I did fall in love with it, but with the Ashtanga community as it is or was then, you weren't a proper Ashtanga unless you did 6 days a week for 2 hours. So I started doing that and went to Mysore as well. So I really loved that actually. And I was really lucky with the teachers I studied with over in Brighton, so Russell Case, Sarah Miles, and Joey, I forget his surname now, but yeah, some amazing teachers there. I did learn an awful lot from them, but that's when my SI joints started complaining, especially when I started going into back jobs. And then I went to Mysore and I got an adjustment from Saraswati. I could take complete responsibility. I've been waiting for this adjustment for about half an hour because it was so busy. And she, as the style is, you bring the hands when you go your back jog, and then your adjustment is the hands walk up to the knees, and that backs of the knees. So, and that night I couldn't walk. I could not walk. So I was in Mysore with I didn't know at the time a bulging disc. I thought it was my Kundalini rising. So I just. I was like, it's happening, everyone. I'm in so much pain. Something amazing is going to happen. And all that happened was I couldn't feel my toes. And I felt like someone was kicking me in the back. And I had to go and find this healer guy who did all this weird thing. I think he was a bit of a pervert actually. And but I just went with it because I was in so much pain. Looking, when you're really young, you're like, oh no, this is all part of the journey. And you look back when you're a bit older, and you go, oh God, I don't.
That really wasn't part of the journey.
I think that was his journey. But I think the only reason it eased the pain is because the session did calm me down because I had to lay for an hour, so it did sort of mellow me out. And I was really enjoying my time in India, but from that point on, my back was never the same. It's never the same. My SI joints were never the same as well. I mean, I have got existing scoliosis, so it's probably a combination of everything. In big back jobs where you're slightly wonky, but most of us are a bit wonky anyway. We're not very really. But I did carry on for quite some time after, and then the universe intervened. I couldn't get to class. My car broke down one day. I was back in the UK. My car broke down. Couldn't get to class. I couldn't get there any other way. It was 20 miles away. I used to drive there every day. And there was no other way to get me there because it was 6:30 a.m. start. And within a week, I felt so much better. So I just did a bit of practice at home, and I was like, oh, I feel less tired. I feel less angry. My back starts to feel better, and I just never went back. I did it 5 years, 6 days a week, just back. But the back issues did have remained, and then doing more and more study and doing my a student on I've done lots of 200-hour training as well, just learning about the history of yoga, but no women were involved whatsoever. There's it's a really nice yoga film I show on my 200-hour Yoga Unveiled. It's quite an old film, and Indra Devi's in it. She's being asked about having being a yoga student of Krishnamacharya, and he wouldn't teach her initially because she was a female, and she was so relentless. He took her on as a student. She was an amazing student, of course, but it wasn't the done thing. So that would have been over 100 years ago. Or around about 100 years ago, she was his student. It just wasn't the done thing to have women practice that because it wasn't designed for the women's system, especially with the cyclical nature of the female body. But as yoga became more popular, so as teachers from here or students from the UK, or the Western world, went over and started learning the style and bringing it back, it grew in popularity, of course, because of course there are many benefits to women as well as men. However, the postures weren't really being adapted. This is just my take on it. Weren't really being adapted. And for women we're so different in the pelvis. I mean, there's the male pelvis and the female pelvis, but even that's oversimplified because then there are 4 different types of female pelvis, and then there are hybrids of that. So
it's not right.
Yeah, so you can have one woman do one posture and that feels great for her, and the next one it doesn't. Because her pelvis might be broader, there might be a slight rotation on one side of the iliac. Anything going on. It can be from trauma, it can be from childbirth, it can be from her birth. As well. So there's so much going on. I think it's really good I know you've got a lot of teachers that teach like this as well on your site, that it's a good idea to just check in every day. What's going on first? What's happening? How are you feeling? Okay, maybe this posture will feel good. But with the old way of practicing and being taught yoga was you fit into the posture, not the posture fits you. And I know Bernie Clark talks about this. I hope to study with him at some point. It was very much that, wasn't it? And you don't question the teacher as well. It's a very old school way.
Well, there are still some styles of yoga and lineages which are very much like it. This is the correct way, and this is what we should be moving towards. And there are shoulds in lots of different schools of yoga still.
Yeah. And I do get that, in that it does develop discipline. And someone's kind of got to be in charge as well, I think, with some discipline, because you're working with a pretty profound discipline that can open a can of worms at any point, a given point, as we've discussed. Yeah. So I get it. However, I know with my journey, when I said, but my back is really hurting, I can't feel my toes, it was just like, well, you carry on. And I've got quite a big tear in my right hip. I got it on a teacher training. A teacher stood on my leg. That happened in 2004.
That wasn't like an accident, as the teachers.
Oh no, that was an adjustment. That was an adjustment. Yeah, big tear on my hip. I didn't know it was torn at the time. I thought it was a groin strain, but I had an MRI recently for my back, and the tear is still there. So, and it's because it's ligament. It won't heal. And then I got the bulging disc in my store as well. So, but that was I chose to be there. I chose to be very fixed postures, and I wanted to fit into those postures. So I totally owned it. I opted into that discipline. No one put me on a plane and forced me there. But it has been quite an eye-opener, as I've learned with my pre and postnatal work, as I've learned more about the female form. It's like, oh yeah, no wonder that didn't work, because it wasn't designed for my pelvis or spine or my cyclical nature, because I'm a female. There is no easing off. So I just think when you look at the whole picture, it kind of makes sense that sometimes yoga might hurt you a little bit if it's the wrong kind of yoga for you on that day. And it's okay for yoga to, I think anyway, now I've come around to, I think it's okay for yoga to fit you. You don't have to fit into it. I think there's a whole movement for it there, isn't there? Because you and Uma, who I study with, and various teachers, I think there is a whole shift towards that. Just giving yourself a break, really.
Yeah, there is. Thank goodness there is a shift towards that. But there is also a surprising amount of people who are still doing the same things. And for me, my biggest, I had a real light bulb moment about Ashtanga, when it's like, and if you're on your period, don't do this. And that's the instruction. If you're on your moon, this is what not to do.
Yeah.
But my aha moment was, hang on a minute, this is something going on in my body which is completely right, normal, and natural. Surely there are things that, like, yoga is here to support my health. So what is I should be doing? Not just don't do this. Like, what's a good thing to do? And bring back to Uma. She's the one who really opened the door, and we're like, you know what?
Doors. Yeah.
Yes, didn't she just? Uma is amazing. And she was the one who was like, no, there are things which are really healthy for a woman to do right now and will make you feel so much better. Not just you sit in the corner of your room because you're on a period.
Go bleed over there.
Go bleed over there.
Definitely. But Iyengar yoga was, because I loved Iyengar as well. I mean, Ashtanga was my love, but I did really enjoy Iyengar, and I learned quite a lot about alignment with Iyengar. But the teachers are great with in Iyengar. I think I know it's a bit of like saying Voldemort now, Iyengar, but at the moment. But the teachers I used to go to were brilliant at adapting when you're menstruating. I will say for Iyengar, there were those practices there which I still use sometimes, but with Ashtanga it was like that. Petty woman, 5 days, do nothing.
And there's an interesting point related from Raki. I think there's a real problem in the yoga world with people over pushing themselves for perfect, and insert whatever strive thing for here. I prefer a more compassionate yoga practice, complete with inner workout, and then using different kinds of movement for strength and exercise. But that's just me. But I absolutely agree. Yeah, I say to folks, people who are like, what yoga can I do for a workout? I'm like, run up a hill and then
go to the gym.
Well, just, yeah, do what you need to do. Get rid of all that energy and then come to the yoga mat.
Yes. Yeah. Because if you've got that energy, you've got it. You need to burn it off. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
you can't get inside. You've got to crack it, haven't you? Because I have days like that where I'm just high energy and I'm like, if I get in a yoga mat, no, I'm just going to get annoyed because I'm cranked up. So I'll just go for a little jog around the park.
And if you were less experienced, you would also hurt yourself because you'd be doing some kind of crazy transition. Because I had that in a very well-known vinyasa teacher's class, in a class of, it was one of those classic, one where they fit 150 people in the room and everyone's making like the biggest shapes possible. It was one of those amazing classes. And we were all, because everyone's all kind of skinny and young and making these crazy shapes. And I was sort of just about still in that mold at that time. And I was kind of, doing this, hanging on in there. And I was doing and it was in a transition. It's a classic, isn't it? It was a transition from one crazy pose to the next. I felt a ligament in my knee just go, and it's never been the same since.
It's so easily done.
I was going to say, it just shows. Like, don't take your ego out on yoga. Don't come with all the energy bursting out some moves.
Yeah. And the thing is, you can get like week 2 of your cycle as well for women that are still menstruating. You're going to get a peak in adrenaline and cortisol as well. So you might go hard on your practice, but it doesn't mean you can go hard on your practice. Doesn't mean you should, because then you'll be depleted again as well. So exactly. It's I kind of miss those classes though, if I'm honest, like the buzz of them. Do you know what I mean? I mean, if I went now, I'd probably last 10 minutes and then I'd cry.
You and I, Sally, we'd be at the back in floods of tears, realising that we're in our mid-40s and we really can't keep up with these people doing their eyebrow stands.
Could just hold hands lying down at the back of the yoga.
Sobbing.
That's probably what I would do. But I find people practice like that until they hurt themselves, and then they'll change. That's me. I wouldn't listen to anyone. I remember actually credit. I remember my Ashtanga teacher saying to me, "You need to calm down." I just remembered that. She goes, "You're going." She said to me, because I was also teaching loads of classes. She went, "You're going to die." She said. Yeah, but I was crackerjack at the time. I used to do 2-hour practice, then teach 5 classes, then I had another job. I was completely bonkers at that time. But this when I was, like early 20s. But yeah, Sarah Marsh, she went, "You're going to die." I was like, "No, I'm fine." And then I went to Mysore and did a disc. Yeah. So my Ashtanga teacher tried to get me to calm down. So you can imagine. Oh my God.
Yeah. It wasn't a good look.
But that's ego, isn't it? That's ego. My teacher told me to mellow out, then I didn't. So it's on my head.
Raki's got a good point. I'm surprised more pregnancy modifications haven't made their way into mainstream yoga. They feel so good on the body. I agree. I do pregnancy classes a lot.
Well, they have. I teach at David Lloyd. I teach at a local gym, and it's quite a senior clientele there because I teach in the day because I can't do evening. And I often do prenatal yoga. They don't know that. They don't know it is, but I just think, because it's always at the forefront of my mind anyway, prenatal, I think, oh, I'll just do that. Let's just do some lovely flowing movements. And they'll always say something like, "Oh, that was nice, dear. What was it?" Like, "Oh, good, you see you next week." So yeah, I often do it, and maybe a little bit postnatal at the end or something like that. But they feel wonderful, don't they? When I first started teaching pregnancy yoga, I think my body just went, "Thank you for doing this." 2007, I trained with Uma, and I remember my body just softening and just going, "Oh." Such a gift.
It is. Oh, Laura's she's coming clean as well. So do I. Yeah. We're all the pregnancy yoga people, but in a way it's a shame. Like, I hate the way that on the website it says pregnancy yoga as if you have to be pregnant to do this yoga. It's like, no, this is absolutely for everybody in the world. It'll feel amazing for all the people. It's a shame it has to be called pregnancy. How is it that they got all the fun?
Yeah, I know. Maybe we can rename it and just call it women's yoga or something. Or
Yeah, but even I mean, guys will enjoy it. There's no reason why they wouldn't. True. Yeah. Kate Sharman, she's come out the closet as well. Me too. She's another pregnancy yoga fan.
Nice. They're all coming out now.
You know what I love when I do the pregnancy yoga classes, where you say, and hold your baby.
Hold your lockdown.
Hold your lockdown hummus and pitta.
I've eaten so many kettle crisps, it's not even funny. Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, Sally, I could giggle with you all day. I'm not sure it'll be any use to
anyone.
To anyone else. Heather says you guys are making me laugh out loud. So that's excellent. I'm glad that we're lifting the spirits. You always lift my spirits, Sally.
Oh, thanks. Likewise. I was thinking the other day how long it was since we met in Try Yoga, and you had your beautiful dog with you. That's
oh my God,
probably 8 years.
8 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Years. Far out. Wow. And here we are, still connected. I love it. It's great.
Yeah. With all the best ones. You two need your own comedy show.
You should do it whilst drinking. That could be interesting.
Yeah. A great laugh from Laura. Does anyone have any Pilates or yoga questions?
Not educational in any way. I'm sorry.
It's been fun. Well, I tell you what, you keep an eye out on the chat. If anyone comes up with any sort of Pilates, yoga questions, any thoughts about the patriarchy and yoga or pregnancy yoga. Smash it. Just smash it. I love that.
Boring. I'm so bored of it now.
Yeah, we're over it.
God, so over it.
It's brilliant. Cool. It's been great chatting.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you very much. And I think we did well connecting, considering what things have gone wrong this week with energies and stuff.
I know. I'm really impressed.
I was a bit like that.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I'm sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's like everything. It's lockdown life, isn't it? You just have to sort of let it all go.
Yeah. Yes. It's deep. That's deep.
Well, it's been brilliant connecting.
Oh, thanks for your time. Thank
you very much, everybody, for joining in our little Sal and Cat comedy act, which is also vaguely talking about some yoga along the way. And yes, here's to your next filming, and keep up with those Pilates moves, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you,
Take care. Much love to you all. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.